The phone rings at 2:17 in the morning. The caller ID says crew management. The new conductor has been waiting for this call for 3 days. Not because he knew it was coming at 2 a.m., but because he had no idea when it was coming at all. He has 90 minutes to get to the yard. He does not know which train. He does not know which direction. He does not know when he will be back. That is not an unusual first shift. That is a Tuesday. Most people who think about working on a freight railroad imagine the train itself, the size, the speed, the machinery. What they do not imagine is the phone call at 2:17 in the morning, the drive to a yard in the dark, and the realization that the most disorienting part of this job has nothing to do with the train. It has to do with the clock, or rather, the absence of one. Here is where it starts. On the first day in the field, a conductor trainee is handed a knuckle, the steel casting that connects two freight cars when they couple together. It weighs 83 pounds. The trainee needs to lift it, position it correctly in the coupler pocket, and ensure it is fully seated before the engineer makes contact. Then, the air brake hoses, two rigid rubber lines that must be connected in the correct sequence, pushed fully together until they lock, or the brake test that follows will fail and the train cannot legally move. Then, the handbrake on the parked car, applied with the right amount of force, too little, and the car moves when it should not. The classroom showed him all of this. He took a test on it. He passed. None of that prepared him for the first time he did it on a yard track in January, at 4 in the morning, wearing gloves thick enough to keep his hands from freezing, trying to align a coupler by feel because the track lighting does not reach that far. Before he got to that yard, he spent months in training. The AAR's standard program runs 2 weeks of classroom instruction, operating rules, signal indications, air brake systems, FRA regulations, hazardous materials protocols, followed by 2 more weeks of field training at a dedicated facility. After that, on-the-job training. At BNSF, approximately 20 weeks working alongside a coach conductor on real trains before certification. Signal questions and track authority questions require a passing score of 100%, not 85, not 90, 100. The physical characteristics exam requires him to know from memory every switch on his territory, its numerical designation, the layout of every customer facility he will work. The exam is taken sitting down. The territory is not. The first time a trainee couples 2 cars together on a live assignment, he is doing something that looks simple from the outside and is not. A freight car coupler uses a knuckle mechanism, a hook-shaped steel casting that locks into the matching knuckle on the adjacent car when the cars come together. The knuckle itself weighs 83 pounds. When it needs to be replaced, changed, or manually opened for uncoupling, the conductor lifts it by hand. The air brake hoses that connect 2 cars must be coupled in the correct sequence, fully seated and locked, or the brake test that follows will fail, and the train cannot move. The handbrake on a parked car must be applied with sufficient force to hold the car on grade, too little, and the car moves when it should not. Too much applied incorrectly, and it becomes a problem in a different direction. The trainee learns the sequence in training. He learns it again on the job, with real equipment, on a track that is not level, in whatever weather the shift brought with it. The difference between what the classroom described and what the yard requires is where most early mistakes happen. Not because the trainee does not know the procedure, because knowing a procedure and performing it fluently under pressure are different skills, and only one of them can be taught in a classroom. But the moment the trainee gets it wrong is not the dangerous moment. The dangerous moment is when he thinks he got it right. The system for catching conductor errors is layered. The engineer stays in the cab and does not move the train until he receives a clear radio call from the conductor. That radio call must follow a specific format. Railroad communication uses a formal protocol where every instruction is repeated back and confirmed. A trainee who says "come ahead" instead of the correct phraseology has not given a legal movement authority. The engineer will ask him to repeat it correctly. A trainee who gives a vague distance estimate instead of a specific car length count will be asked to be more precise. The communication system is designed to slow things down enough to catch the most common errors before they become consequences. The coach conductor adds a second layer. During in-service training, the coach is watching both what the trainee does and what the trainee misses. A forgotten handbrake on a parked cut of cars, an air hose that looks connected but is not fully seated, a switch that was lined but not verified. These are the things the coach catches in the first weeks. Not because the trainee is careless, but because he has not yet built the automatic scan that experienced conductors develop over years. The scan is the habit of checking the same things in the same order every time, without thinking about whether to check them. The trainee does not have it yet. That is what the first months are for. The physical demands arrive before the trainee expects them. If you are finding this useful, hit subscribe. We cover stories like this every week. Freight conductor work is outdoor work. Rain, snow, summer heat, winter wind. The train does not stop because the weather is bad, and the conductor does not stay in the cab. Switching operations, coupling, throwing switches, inspecting the train from the ground, all of it happens outside, at whatever temperature the day has delivered. New conductors who came from office environments or indoor jobs consistently describe this as one of the first genuine surprises. They knew, intellectually, that the job was physical. Knowing it and standing in a Nebraska January at 4 in the morning, gripping a steel handbrake wheel with 2 layers of gloves, waiting for a radio call that is running late, are different experiences. The extra board compounds the physical difficulty. New conductors almost universally start on the extra board, a rotating list of available crew that crew management calls in order when a regular assignment needs coverage. There is no fixed schedule. The call can come at any hour. The 90-minute notice requirement means a conductor on the extra board cannot make plans more than 90 minutes into the future with any certainty. A family dinner, a doctor's appointment, a night of uninterrupted sleep, all of them are provisional. The phone determines the schedule, not the calendar. The body does not adapt to this easily. Sleep medicine research is clear that rotating schedules and irregular sleep patterns degrade cognitive performance and physical recovery faster than consistent night work. A conductor who works a day shift Monday gets called for a midnight run Wednesday and then gets called again Friday afternoon has not slept on any consistent cycle that week. He has slept when the phone allowed it. What that looks like in practice: standing in a rail yard at noon, sun out, feeling like midnight because the last shift ended at 6 a.m. and the call came at 10. The brain knows it is supposed to be awake. The body has been awake since yesterday. After several months of this, experienced conductors say they stop noticing how tired they are. That is not an improvement. That is adaptation. Then comes the moment the training program cannot prepare anyone for. Certification arrives at the end of the process. After the classroom, the field training, the on-the-job weeks with the coach conductor, the physical characteristics exam, the rules test, the final evaluation ride, the Federal Railroad Administration issues the certification. From that point, the new conductor is legally authorized to operate without a coach. The first solo shift is different from everything that came before it in one specific way. During training, every mistake had a backstop. The coach conductor was there. If the radio call was wrong, the coach corrected it. If the switch was mislined, the coach caught it. The engineer was patient because he understood that a trainee was learning. On the first solo shift, the backstop is gone. The engineer does not know if this is the conductor's first time alone. The dispatcher does not know. The train does not know. The manifest has to be correct. A document listing every car on the train, its contents, its destination, any hazardous materials it carries. The FRA requires that hazardous materials be properly identified and placarded, and the conductor is responsible for verifying this before departure. The radio calls have to follow correct protocol. The air test has to pass before the train can legally move. The switch has to be lined and verified. And the train has to move on time, because freight railroads operate on schedules that do not accommodate a new conductor's adjustment period. A late departure ripples through every crew change, every meeting point, every customer window for the rest of that train's run. On the first solo shift, a new conductor who holds the train for any reason, a failed air test, an incorrect manifest entry, an unclear radio exchange with the dispatcher, is holding it alone without the coach standing behind him. What most new conductors describe about the first solo shift is not a catastrophe. It is the silence after the first correct radio exchange with the dispatcher. The moment the engineer acknowledges the movement authority and the train begins to move, and the conductor realizes that it worked. That everything he spent months learning is actually in his hands now, and he can use it. That moment, more than any classroom or training yard exercise, is when the job becomes real. Ask an experienced freight conductor what he wishes someone had told him before his first shift, and the answers converge on three things. The first is the extra board. Every conductor who went through it describes the first year on the extra board as harder than the training itself. Not because of the work, but because of the uncertainty. The training has a schedule. The extra board does not. Learning to live without a predictable week is a skill the railroad does not formally teach, and most new hires say it takes 6 months to a year before they stop fighting it and start building a life around it instead. The second is the territory. New conductors worry about the physical characteristics exam. Experienced conductors say the exam is the easy part. You study, you pass. What takes longer is the feel for the territory. Knowing which switches tend to stick in cold weather, which yard leads are tighter than they look, which customer facilities have an unusual layout that the exam description did not quite capture. That knowledge comes from repetition, and repetition only comes from time. The third is the communication. Almost universally, conductors say the radio protocol felt awkward for longer than they expected. The formal phraseology, the requirement to repeat everything back, the specific way dispatcher instructions have to be acknowledged. It becomes automatic eventually, but in the first weeks, it takes conscious effort that pulls attention away from everything else happening at the same time. The trainee is watching the switch, monitoring the train movement, managing the engineer's questions, and simultaneously constructing a grammatically correct radio transmission in a format he has memorized but not yet internalized. There is a fourth thing, less often named but almost always implied. The job selects for people who can tolerate sustained uncertainty, not just the schedule, but the nature of the work itself. Every trip is different. Trains break down in different places. Customers change their car counts at the last minute. A switch that worked yesterday is frozen today. The new conductor who expects freight railroading to become routine is going to have a difficult first year. The one who learns to find routine within the unpredictability, who builds a system for preparation precisely because the job resists it, is the one who is still there at year 5. Nobody told them any of this before they started. They learned it the way conductors have always learned it, on the job, in the dark, with the train waiting.